Good evening, all. We'll start shortly. All right, so welcome all in our weekly webinar, Market Masterclass with Religare. In this webinar, we talk about the market performance during the week and how we are anticipating things to unfold in the coming week, which all factors, things, data to watch out for, sectors to focus on, uh, themes to avoid, and alongside with the list of stocks wherein we see potential. So all this will cover in next 20 minutes, followed by the Q&A session. So in case if you have any query, you can ask during the Q&A session. And yeah, so this is how this next 30 minutes are planned. So आप सभी का स्वागत है हमारे इस वीकली वेबिनार में। और इस वेबिनार का बेसिकली पर्पस ये है कि आप नेक्स्ट 20 मिनट में तैयार हो जाएं नेक्स्ट वीक के लिए। मींस इंडाइसेस में क्या देखना है, क्या सेक्टर्स में वॉच करना है, किसको अवॉइड करना है, कौन से स्टॉक्स आपके रडार पे होने चाहिए, ये सब कुछ कवर करेंगे। उसके बाद कोई सवाल रह जाता है तो वो भी अपना Q&A सेशन में एड्रेस करेंगे, कोई भी क्वेरी होती है तो। राइट, सो लेट्स start the session with a disclaimer that it's not a trading or investment recommendation. So what we are discussing here is our observation or readings on markets. So before you make any decision based on the information shared, please do check with your financial advisor. So this is how the markets has performed, during this week. Means 1.5% kind of a gains for both Nifty and Sensex. Last week, if you remember, it was a strong recovery, and this week too, we could manage to end on a positive note. Last week, all sectors were on the positive side. This week, auto ended marginally in the red, roughly around 1% kind of a cut. Rest of the sectors like energy, metals, media, reality, and FMCG, they were among the top gainers. On the gainers losers side, in the Nifty 50, Adani group of stock topping that list, Adani Enterprise Ports. Then we have Max Health, Tata Motors, Passenger Vehicle, and Power Grid. On the losing side, Eicher, M&M, and Maruti, three names from the auto basket, and that's the reason why we are seeing that the auto index is in red. And then we have Bajaj Finance and HDFC also witnessed marginal profit taking. So पूरे हफ्ते में जो ये हुआ, इंडेक्स जो लास्ट वीक हमने जो रिकवरी देखी थी, जो तेजी देखी थी मार्केट में, उसका कंटिन्यूएशन देखने को मिला। एक सीधा साधा मूव नहीं था, कंसोलिडेशन रहा लार्जली, अगर आप कहेंगे तो, कि इनिशियल अप मूव के बाद रेंज में, दायरे में मार्केट ने ट्रेड किया, बट टोन पॉजिटिव रहा। मींस रोटेशनल बेसिस पे क्रॉस सेक्टर पार्टिसिपेशन देखने को मिला, जो कि रिफ्लेक्ट भी कर रहा है आपका सेक्टोरल गेनर्स लूजर्स के चार्ट में। केवल ऑटो नेगेटिव पे बंद हुआ, बाकी सभी ने ही कंट्रीब्यूट किया है पॉजिटिव साइड पे। राइट, टॉप गेनर्स लूजर्स में से केवल एक यही आपके लूजर्स, क्योंकि बड़े नाम थे आयशर, M&M और मारुति, यहाँ पे प्रॉफिट टेकिंग हुई, जिसकी वजह से ऑटो इंडेक्स करीब 1% के कट के साथ बंद हुआ। अदरवाइज ठीक ठाक परफॉर्मेंस रही अक्रॉस सेक्टर। ब्रॉडर मार्केट इनफैक्ट काफी स्ट्रांगली आउट परफॉर्म किया है बेंचमार्क को, करीब 4-4.5% के गेन इन बोथ निफ्टी एंड द मिड कैप इंडेक्स. So that was the reason why, market, despite being in a range, continue to offer buying opportunities across themes and sectors. So let's jump to the critical part. What next after this recovery rebound? Where are we heading next? So this is the daily graph. At times we switch from daily to weekly basis, where we see the observation fitting the curve correctly. So here as you can see that, you know, this sharp move and followed by this consolidation phase in the index and then the trend continuation. This yellow line is now the base area, means we have tested this uh, this week at the uh, early trade, but we not only defended, but market managed to inch higher after retesting the 20 EMA mark. So this is definitely the key support. Earlier it was placed at 23,500. Now this has shifted to 23,700. Upside, that is more important because we are heading into the zone of resistance. Multiple things means, as you can see, that this previous swing lows will act as a resistance, which also coincides with the medium to long term moving average. What it means that this 23, 600, 700, 800 zone is a strong resistance area for the index to surpass. Once we do that, that 25,200 is something that the market might attempt, and this recovery is going to strengthen further. Downside, 24,000 and this 20 EMA mark, 23,700, that will be the zone where we have support for the week, not for the day, but for the entire week. So indications are in the favor that Nifty might make an attempt to retest these long-term, medium-term averages first before any substantial pause, correction or consolidation. So देखिए, जो मार्केट का रिकवरी है, 2 हफ्ते का जो रीबाउंड आया है, करीब 22,200 से आप 24,400 पे आ गए हैं, तो एक स्विफ्ट रिकवरी जरूर है। और अभी क्योंकि आप अर्निंग सीजन में हैं, ग्लोबल क्लूज चल रहे हैं कि अभी भी किस तरीके की चीजें पैन आउट होंगी, किसी को नहीं पता है। क्रूड वाला फैक्टर जो कि काफी इंपॉर्टेंट रहा है, $100 के नीचे जब तक रहे, जब तक हमने बार बार इसी चीज के बारे में बात की है, तब तक सेंटिमेंटली काफी हद तक मार्केट को एक रिलीफ मिलता है कि हाँ, ये $100 के ऊपर नहीं है। 90 के नीचे जाए तो फिर एक स्ट्रॉन्ग और मूव देखने को मिल सकता है, जो कि अभी हो नहीं रहा है। तो अभी लार्जली आप 90 से 100 के बीच में ही क्रूड को देख रहे हैं। इन सब के बीच में क्या हुआ है, दैट अर्निंग सीजन की स्टार्ट हो गया है, मीन्स रिजल्ट्स आने शुरू हो गए। तो अभी तक जो रिजल्ट्स आए हैं मिक्स्ड हैं। ओवर द वीकेंड HDFC और ICICI बैंक, 2 बड़े नाम फ्रॉम द बैंकिंग बास्केट जिनके रिजल्ट आने वाले हैं, तो उनका परफॉर्मेंस काफी हद तक डिक्टेट करेगा कि मंडे को कैसे टोन होगा मार्केट का। ऑफ कोर्स जो ग्लोबल डेवलपमेंट्स होंगी ओवर द वीकेंड, वो भी मार्केट के फोकस पे रहेंगी, बट ये फैक्टर काफी इंपॉर्टेंट रहने वाला है। और वो मैं बताऊंगा अगली स्लाइड में कि क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट रहने वाला है। बट इंडिकेशन क्या है यहाँ पे कि आप 26,600 वाला जोन ये टेस्ट करके थोड़ा सा ब्रीदर, एक पॉज आए मार्केट में, और उसके बाद फिर 25,200 के लिए मार्केट कोशिश करेगा। बट ये 24,600 का जोन को क्रॉस करना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होगा, बट स्टिल अभी एक डिसेंट अपसाइड बचा हुआ है मार्केट में, जो इंडिकेशन है। गिरने के केस में क्या होगा, 24,000 और 23,700 ये सपोर्ट एरिया रहेंगे, राइट। नाउ लेट्स जंप टू बैंकिंग। सो as you can see that this sharp decline followed by this sharp recovery, it is somewhere like aligned to what we are seeing in Nifty, but it was underperforming during the corrective phase, the banking index, and now we are largely in sync. In fact, interestingly, when it comes to the banking index, we are already at the moving averages hurdle zone, right? As you can see that after this test of around 55,800, 56,000 zone, banking index is taking a breather, and that is what we are discussing about Nifty to face once we reach toward 24,600 800 levels. तो देखिए बैंकिंग जो निफ्टी में होना है वो बैंकिंग में ऑलरेडी हो चुका है. मतलब क्या है कि जो ये निफ्टी में लॉन्ग टर्म एवरेजेस मिड टर्म मीडियम टर्म एवरेजेस जो अभी टेस्ट होना बाकी है वो बैंकिंग इंडेक्स में ऑलमोस्ट ये हो चुका है, उन जोन में हम घुस चुके हैं. तो इसमें क्या इंपॉर्टेंट होने वाला है कि क्या हम इस जोन को ब्रेक करके आगे बढ़ेंगे. एचडीएफसी और आईसीआईसीआई के नंबर क्या इस तरीके के होंगे कि वो 57,200 के ऊपर 57,700 के लिए इंडेक्स को एक पुश दें. सो वो एक फैक्टर इंपॉर्टेंट होने वाला है मंडे के सेशन में. तो आपको क्या ध्यान रखना है कि 57,100 200 के ऊपर बैंकिंग इंडेक्स अगर निकलता है तो इट मींस बैंकिंग से और स्ट्रेंथ मीन 57,700 से लेकर 59,000 तक के लेवल्स बैंकिंग इंडेक्स कैन टेस्ट. डिक्लाइन पॉज के केस में जो आपका ये बीच में देखिए ये एरिया जरूर है कि एक सपोर्ट जोन का, बट जो डिसाइसिव है वो तो आपका, क्योंकि बैंकिंग इज एक्सट्रीमली वॉलेटाइल और दो बड़े नंबर भी हैं. तो ये 20 मार्क है, दैट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट. 55,000 के पास जो है ये लेवल, तो ये बड़ा सपोर्ट यही होने वाला है. जब तक ये होल्ड हो रहा है तब तक मार्केट में रहेगा पोटेंशियल की यहाँ पे भी कि पॉजिटिव टोन रहे. कंसोलिडेशन हो सकता है बट टोन पॉजिटिव रहे. सो इन बैंकिंग इंडेक्स let's say 57,100 200 is something that you should keep in mind. Once we surpass this zone, then we are set for 57,700 to 59,000 levels. So in banking also tone looks positive. Selective opportunity is something that one should watch out for. So this is about both the indices, Nifty and the banking index. Now let's talk about stocks and sectors. So while all these stocks, all these sectors are contributing to the move, two spaces, energy and metal, wherein we are seeing consistency in the trend, uh, irrespective of the volatile swings that market is currently experiencing. Right? So JSW Energy, Tata Power, NTPC, all these stocks from the energy basket, wherein we see strength. And as you can see that it's a phase of consolidation for almost like 6 to 8 months in this range of 425 to 575. And now we are finally seeing some decisive price and volume action. And for the first time, decisively means a very strong candle of 10% that the stock has formed and reclaimed its medium term average also. So all this gives us indication that this recovery or rebound that we are seeing is likely to end with a consolidation range breakout and a new trend in JSW Energy. तो देखिए जो मार्केट में सभी सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं रोटेशनल बेसिस पे, लार्जली जो कि पहले अंडर परफॉर्म भी कर रहे थे वहां पे भी पार्टिसिपेशन देखने को मिल रहा है. बट कहाँ पे स्ट्रेंथ और मोमेंटम है वो आपका लार्जली एनर्जी और आपके मेटल काउंटर्स में, मेटल एंड माइनिंग. राइट? तो जो शॉर्ट टर्म में मोमेंटम और स्ट्रेंथ को ढूंढ रहे हैं तो लार्जली उनको दो सेक्टर पे ज्यादा फोकस करना चाहिए, एक मेटल पे और एक एनर्जी बास्केट पे. राइट? सो जेएसडब्ल्यू एनर्जी काफी लंबा कंसोलिडेशन, इस हफ्ते करीब 10% के गेन्स, डिसाइसिव क्लोज आपका मीडियम टर्म एवरेज के ऊपर, वॉल्यूम स्ट्रॉन्ग है. तो इंडिकेशन ये है कि यहाँ से रिकवरी और स्ट्रेंथन हो सकती है जो कि एक नया ट्रेंड ट्रिगर करे जेएसडब्ल्यू एनर्जी में. सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर आपका टाटा पावर में भी है, तो वहां पे भी फोकस कर सकते हैं फ्रॉम द एनर्जी बास्केट. Next in the list, NHPC. So as you can see here also means a subdued or a very measured consolidation in this band 70 to 85 that the stock has been experiencing. And now we have signs and signals that probably the stock is set to attempt for a reversal. तो देखिए जो सेक्टर में या स्टॉक में जहां पे तेजी आ चुकी है वहां पे तो देखिए सभी बात कर ही रहे हैं उसके बारे में और कि चलती हुई ट्रेन में जो मैंने पहले भी बात बताई थी आपको बैठने का दो ही परिणाम होते हैं या तो एक कि वो ट्रेन थोड़े से डिस्टेंस तक आपको कैरी करेगी और उसके बाद फिर आप उसको जिंदगी भर कैरी करेंगे राइट और या तो फिर जहां पे कि एक लेवल ऑफ रिटर्न्स आ गए आपके एक्सपेक्टेशंस आपके रिस्क रिवॉर्ड के हिसाब से और मोमेंटम था आपको भी पता है कि मोमेंटम प्ले कर रहे थे कंपनी स्पेसिफिक या सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक कोई ऐसा मेजर चेंज नहीं हुआ है तो फिर बेटर यही रहता है कि आप वहां से निकलें और जिन सेक्टर्स में फ्रेश अपॉर्चुनिटी जिस थीम में फ्रेश अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल रही है वहां पे आप एक्सप्लोर करें तो बेसिस दैट ये आपका जेएसडब्ल्यू एनर्जी एनएचपीसी ये उन्हीं कैटेगरी में फॉल करते हैं बिकॉज यहाँ पे अभी भी कंसोलिडेशन खत्म नहीं हुआ है इंडिकेशन काफी स्ट्रांग है कि जल्दी ही खत्म हो जाएगा शायद नेक्स्ट वीक राइट तो इस कंसोलिडेशन के बाद वी आर सेट फॉर दी ट्रेंड रिजम्पशन की दोबारा से तेजी की तरफ बढ़े और फिर अपने रिकॉर्ड हाइस के पास पहुंचे तो एनएचपीसी पे भी आप ध्यान रख सकते हैं अपनी वॉच लिस्ट में रख सकते हैं फॉर द नेक्स्ट वीक लास्टली ऑन द लिस्ट एनएलसी इंडिया जो कि नवेली लिग्नाइट पहले हुआ करता था और वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट दिस स्टॉक इन पास्ट आल्सो अराउंड दैट टाइम if I'm not wrong we were somewhere here or here करीब 7-8 हफ्ते पहले की बात है ये और इंडिकेशन यही था कि ये कंसोलिडेशन जो कि रिकॉर्ड हाई के पास है वो अब फाइनली एंड होगा बाय द वे ये 1 महीने 2 महीने का नहीं है ये काफी महीनों का ऑलमोस्ट करीब 1.5-2 साल का ये पीरियड कंसोलिडेशन हो रहा था और ये इस हफ्ते फाइनली एंड हो गया वॉल्यूम के साथ जैसे मैंने बताया कि मेटल एंड माइनिंग यहाँ पे अच्छा ट्रैक्शन है ट्रैक्शन आपका फर्टिलाइजर काउंटर और रेलवे काउंटर्स में भी है बट वहां पे अभी तक रिकवरी कहेंगे बिकॉज काफी हद तक साइड बेस्ड नेगेटिव टोन था तो अभी वो सस्टेन करेंगे गेन्स आने वाले टाइम पे जाके देन ओनली वी कैन से दैट यस रेलवे एंड fertilizer को भी also one should look for long position. So as of now, they are just recovering. Those who are stuck is basically an opportunity to reduce position. For confirmation, we need to have higher highs, higher lows structure in place. But at the same time, I guess instead of focusing on that, जहाँ पे strength है, the area where we see stock largely trading around their 52-week high, their record highs, is something that you should be focusing on. And that is metal and energy basket. So NLC, as you can see, that's a multi-year, multi-month consolidation range breakout with volumes. So here we see the potential of next leg of the up move, in the coming weeks. So net, both the indices turned positive. 24,600, 800, the first barrier for Nifty. For banking index, it is closer to around 57,200 mark. Once we surpass this, post SDFC ICICI number and other developments over the geopolitical front, over the weekend, that will be the key catalyst. But indications are in the favor that yes, we are inching towards this 24, 600, 800 zone in the Nifty index. So it may be a possibility that banking might take a breather before the next leg of the up move to about 57,700, 59,000 levels. But other sectors on the rotational basis can also help Nifty to inch toward that zone. On stock specific front, energy and metal is something that we prefer and suggest staying selective in the other sectors as well. So JSW Energy, NHPC and NLC India is something that we like. तो पूरे इस वेबिनार को अगर समराइज करें, तीन बड़े पॉइंट कि निफ्टी और बैंकिंग इंडेक्स दोनों में पॉजिटिव टोन है. आने वाले टाइम में 26,800, 24,800 और आपका 57,200, ये दो हर्डल हैं. इनको क्रॉस करने के बाद ये रिकवरी और स्ट्रेंथन होगी. बट इन सब के बीच में अगर रुकता भी है लेट्स से बाजार, तो मेटल और एनर्जी बास्केट में इंडिकेशन है कि यहाँ पे आपको अच्छी बाइंग अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती रहेंगी, राइट. सो अकॉर्डिंगली वन शुड फोकस. So this is all that we have on the presentation part. Let's do a quick feedback poll and then we can start with the Q&A. So please fill in your feedback and then we can start with Q&A. So there's a question mark button in front of your screen. Just press that button, write your question and share with us. So those who are done with the feedback, they can start posting their questions now. तो जिनका सवाल हो फीडबैक हो गया है, प्लीज अपना सवाल अपने लिख कर पूछ सकते हैं. जो क्वेश्चन मार्क का बटन है आपकी स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा होगा आपको, एक उसको प्रेस करना है और वहां पे लिख कर पूछना है आपको. We are almost done with feedbacks also, so let's start with Q&A now. Thank you, Ajay ji. Thank you for the feedback, and I really appreciate. And it's important that that whatever we see, observe in the market, and it helps you to take an informed decision. So it's definitely encouraging for us. Thank you. Okay, next we have Priya on ITC movement. So see, ITC, FMCG, in fact, it's not FMCG pure play, by the way, but still, like we were seeing that today in the market, while the FMCG counters were buzzing in the trade, and this Nifty FMCG indicates potential of rebound after this, prolonged underperformance. But still, the upside seems capped. Means for the Nifty FMCG index, it's currently quoting at 49,666. Okay, and 50,900, roughly around 1,300 points, we have the long-term averages placed on the weekly chart. So upside is there, but it seems capped. So once we see, like, what ITC is up to, so 310 is the immediate hurdle zone for ITC, and in case if it manages to surpass, then probably 318, 324 is something that the stock might attempt. But it is still underperforming. We have better stocks, especially if the view is short term. Okay. Now let's jump to the next query. Okay, so there's a anonymous attendee who is asking that is this a good time to input all the money? So in market, see how you see things. Means if the view is, let's say, 5 year down the line, then my answer would be different. if you are asking, like, what we are seeing for the next week, then the response is going to be completely different. In my opinion, at any given point of time, even like you are planning for short term also, you should have, like, some percentage to your entire trading portfolio in cash also. So that as and when it is required, you can hedge those long position, as and when there's an overnight risk of event volatility, which is very common nowadays. As of now, market is witnessing recovery, rebound. We are seeing potential of further recovery, but nobody knows that uh, whether we have already made a bottom or we are inching towards the record high. Nobody knows. We are just following the trend. So focus more on your risk management. Uh, Means once, let's say, we surpass this 24,800, then probably situation would be different. We will be in a position where index has reclaimed all the long-term averages also, and now possibility of major decline may be lesser, right? So as of now, that is not the situation. So still maintain positive but yet cautious stance in the market at large. Okay. Auto sector, Ajay ji, so let's explore where. See, auto is not weak as such, though the auto index ended lower this week, but it was more of consolidation. So 27,000 in the Nifty auto index. It's currently at 26,400. So once we, let's say, cross this hurdle of 27,000, then auto index can easily retest its record highs. So what it means is that the auto counters are largely witnessing consolidation. They are not weak. So tone looks definitely positive, but the focus should be on the top performers, not the laggards. Okay. तो जो अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं उन्हीं पे आप फोकस करें, जो कि अपने रिकॉर्ड हाइस के काफी नजदीक हैं लॉन्ग साइड के लिए, राइट? ओके. एस्ट्रोडीएम. So Estradium is showing strength and possibility of retesting its record high seems very high. Means it's currently at 688 and 730 was the previous record high around that area. So it can retest that zone, during this rebound. 650, 660 is the base zone, support area. So with that, you may consider that area as your stop loss and you can hold your long positions, is what STDM is indicating. So I hope I've answered your query. For profit taking also, it's same, that we are still not completely into a clear-cut bull market. No doubt the recovery has strengthened with rebound in mid cap and small cap. So as and when you get the opportunity, it's prudent that you should take some profit off the table and wait for next opportunity. Okay. Next we have Chipillas on Moschip and Tata Consumer. So Moschip has rebounded and reclaimed its major averages also, but now first the move is not very decisive, means the way it has rebounded. So one needs to be cautious. 206, 207 is the strong hurdle area, which is 10 points away from the current area. So partial profit in case if you have bought it at lower level is something that one can consider. And support is at 174, major support. So logically, risk reward is not favorable if you're planning any fresh position. And even for the existing position, it's prudent that one should reduce longs in moisture. And Tata Consumer is also closer to its hurdle area, means 1140 is what we are eyeing as strong hurdle. Once we close above 1140, then it may strengthen further towards, let's say, the record high zone. So in case if you have existing position from the short term perspective, you may consider booking profits around 1140 area. And in the interim, 1080 is the zone where you may consider maintaining your stop. Tushar, like we've shared, NHPC, wherein we see strength from the PSU basket. Uh, then we have Engineers India from the PSU space, wherein we see traction. SCI has done exceptionally well. Steel Authority, where we see strength. So we have long list on the PSU side also. So the easiest way to identify is just run a screener that stocks which are at their 52-week high or 10 to 20% away from their 52-week high, and then identify potential of big breakout. So these are some of the names, and you can identify more. For next 1 year market view, see, honestly, it's very difficult to predict in the current market scenario because a new shock, this energy supply crisis, and nobody knows how it's going to end. Means initially, if you remember that post this Russia-Ukraine war situation improved, in the coming weeks, because the impact was less on us from that energy perspective, and the supply was sufficient. This time around, the situation is different. So in case if crude sustains at elevated level, let's say around 100 area also, for our next 2-3 months, situation is going to be different for the second half of the calendar year. So it's kind of like a wait and watch situation, and staggered manner, investment approach is something that is suggested in a current market scenario. Okay, next we have more of stock specific questions. So Santosh, first of all, I'll address this. Ease my trip, please avoid. Basis the issues that company is currently dealing. Let's them come out of those issues, and then you may consider making investment, not at current levels. Okay, and PSUs we have already discussed. Railway counters. So Ryan has this question, and this is what we have discussed also, that fertilizer, railways, these themes are also gaining traction, and volumes are very strong. But sustenance of the move is critical. Means this was the first week of strong recovery, but are we going to sustain those moves? Volumes are definitely positive this time. It was not the scenario earlier in most of these railway counters. So this is something which is encouraging, but adding to your loss-making position at current levels is also not recommended. So if you were stuck at the higher levels, keep on holding your long position, and once the stock reaches to your buying zone, reevaluate your position. Okay. Now, Inox Wind, wherein we have seen a very strong rebound, means 30% of a rebound in 1 month, 13% in this week's. So yes, this recovery is likely to strengthen further, and 115 is what the indication that the stock might test once we surpass this 100 level. Support is at 90 to 86 zone. So it's going to be a gradual move. It's not going to be a like outrightly a strong rebound, but yeah, the recovery is likely to continue is what the indications are. Okay. Exide. Exide Industries, decent rebound, but not very decisive so far. Means it is okay, but upside seems capped. Means around this zone, 340, 350, 360. Means on every 10 points, we have some resistance or the other. So if you have any existing position in the short-term perspective, 318 should be a stop, and around 350, 360, you may consider exiting your longs. Okay. So this is it. Largely, we have answered all the queries, I guess. Yes. Some of the queries were like overlapping, so I've just combined those questions in one and answered. So yes, with this, we have answered all the queries. Thank you everyone for joining in. Next week,